Good evening, everyone. Welcome to COS Indiana Live. My name's Dale Parrish. I'm the state director for Convention of States here in Indiana, and I want to welcome you to our broadcast. We got a really good one lined up for you tonight. We got a really good one, and of course, they're all good. I say that all the time. I know, but we do have a very, very good one. Let me, without further ado, let me bring on my co-host, Ken Kashuba. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Dale.
Good to see you, bud. Geez, it's been such a long time since I've seen you. What, about 2 minutes, right? I guess.
2 minutes, and I was going to say a couple turkeys worth, but no.
Yeah. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. I hope you did too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Fried another turkey, so I wouldn't do it any other way.
That's right. You did fry a turkey, didn't you?
Yeah. Third or fourth year now, so yeah.
The best turkey, I think the best turkey I've ever tasted was a fried one. My son-in-law used to do that for us, and excellent. Just loved it. Yeah.
Really moist and done in an hour. I like that all parts of it. So,
yeah. That's good.
To hear that you had a good family outing, I believe. So.
Yes, we had about 30 people together, and thank goodness our daughter handled it all. So
that's not how'd you arrange that? Usually, they look to you for all that stuff.
My wife delegated that responsibility a few years ago.
Good for her.
Fortunately, our daughter took it on. Our daughter happens to live right next door to us, so
well, that even makes it easier. Yeah,
makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. Plus, it gives you access to two ovens if you needed them.
That's right. Well, we had a good Thanksgiving. Good Thanksgiving. Well, Ken, just so everyone knows, Ken will be monitoring the comments and questions that we get from our viewers tonight. So if you are viewing tonight, either on Facebook or our YouTube channel, Indiana Patriots for Convention of States, feel free to enter in the chat, comment, or ask a question. And Ken will be monitoring those and will kind of give us the sign, and flash it up there so we can address it. We'll try our best to address any comments or questions. If for any reason you may have a thought after the broadcast, you can email us and email that to us. And Ken, let me see if I can find that email address down here. I wasn't planning on showing that right now, but I can.
Yep. raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com.
That's right. You can email your comment or question to us after the broadcast is over. We'll do our best to respond to you. So might as well get that in there while we can. Mm-hmm. So once again, Ken will be monitoring comments and views. So I wanted to also point out, always like to do this. This is broadcast number 176. And Ken has been co-hosting for 44 of these broadcasts. So
44.
we're closing in on the 200 mark, and you're closing in on the 50 mark, Ken.
It's
So
moving right along. Yeah, moving right
it
along.
sure is. It sure is. So we've had quite a run with COS Indiana Live, and looking forward to 2023. Always looking for ways to make this live stream better, and with interesting guests. And just for the record, I want everyone to understand we're doing this to focus on Indiana. Our focus is on Convention of States, people, and things happening in Indiana. So we're not seeking out national celebrities to appear on our broadcast. We're strictly focusing on Indiana, Convention of States, patriots. So that's what we try to do. Okay. All right. Want to make a few announcements here. Conventionofstates.com. That's our national website, Ken. That if you're not a supporter of Convention of States, the very first thing for you to do is go to this national website, conventionofstates.com, and provide your information and sign up to be a supporter, and even possibly even look at a leadership role. So that's where you go to get that done. Now, every fourth Monday of the month, this live stream occurs every Monday evening at 7:00. Every fourth Monday, we convert the format to a roundtable discussion. And it's basically a panel discussion on interesting topics of the day.
Hot topics.
We've had some good ones, haven't we, Ken?
Yeah, we've had quite a few hot ones to speak of, really. Yeah.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, our last one I thought was very good. We talked about the election day victories that for Convention of States, and it was very interesting. You know, so many of us, myself included, focused on some of the national races going on, but on the down card, if you want to call it that, there were a lot of things happening in favor of Convention of States, and I thought it was a very interesting discussion that we had. So
yeah, from a ground level, I think I think, as you say, it was a lot of people focusing on what's happening nationally and in the big name elections. But I actually found that the ground level, or what I call at this point the grassroots level, to be more interesting, because I think that's where we got to get started. That's where we have to. That's where we actually start to build up enough support and enough changes to actually start to affect federal changes. So
right. So our roundtable in December. That's why I'm letting this message continue to crawl across the screen. Our roundtable in December would be December 26th. That would be the fourth Monday. Well, of course, that's the day after Christmas. So we're not going to do a live one that night. We're going to do a best of. And Ken, I think if you'll agree, I think we will rebroadcast the one from November, the one we were just talking about, the election day victories. I think that's the one we'll rebroadcast on December 26th.
Well, speaking of topics for roundtable, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a comment we've had, which we might have to consider for a future roundtable.
Oh,
yeah. Our friend Scott Goldsberry says that interesting topics. How about Elon Musk?
Okay.
We might have to have a roundtable discussion on Elon. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
He's doing quite a bit there. With Twitter's becoming quite the topic at this point, so we might have to, weave that in and talk about Elon's efforts and certainly what's being discovered. I think it's quite interesting.
Have you looked at any of the mainstream news coverage of what Elon Musk is doing?
Oh, you mean all those blank pages? No, I know at this point, yeah, wow, um,
they are really downplaying it.
yeah, of course, they're hiding under a
Uh,
rock. They don't want to
right.
upset the apple cart at this point.
But
Yeah, they're being
thanks for
exposed.
that suggestion. I think that might be a good topic. Anyway, so the next actual roundtable, next live roundtable will be in January. Will be January 23rd of 2023. So, and we haven't selected a topic yet for that roundtable. So,
Could be in the running.
if any viewers have other suggestions for topics, please let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Also want to mention that we now have podcasts available for our viewers and listeners. We have a roundtable podcast, which the last one that we've published was the roundtable from October 24th. The roundtable from November 28th is still being edited and should be published very soon, I would think. Right, Ken?
Well, I can add to that. That actually, it's been posted in one place so far. It is available on our blog section of our Indiana State page. So the
Oh,
blog
really?
section, the roundtable edition is available there. The link to it is available on the blog. So
okay.
that's conventionofstates.com/Indiana, and you can find it on the blog.
Okay.
But that's you can find the link to the blog along the toolbar along the top of that top of our page there. So.
Okay. Now we also have a podcast called COS Indiana Live Voices, and we have 2 episodes.
No, you're behind the ball there too, Dale. There's our latest number 3 episode with our married couple is published. It's out there.
Well, you got to tell me these things.
I like to have a few surprises for you on this show. Otherwise,
okay, all right.
I got to get those eyebrows moving a little bit, and people know you're not recording. Dale is live. He's not recorded. He's live.
So my constant reminding you to get that published finally paid off, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think when you asked me about that, one of the 2 was already done. So,
Okay. So that's episode number 3.
Yes, it is.
Right? On COS Indiana Live Voices.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing the interview for episode 4 tomorrow morning, aren't we?
That's if everything goes right and you don't have any other appointments.
Yeah, I kind of moved. Oh well, that's another story.
That's another story.
We won't get into it. All right, so folks, these podcasts they're on different platforms, but you can go to Spotify.com and find them. Find both of them there. So we're excited about these podcasts going on, especially the roundtable podcast. That's the audio portion of the roundtable live stream that we do every 4th Monday. But the voices, now that's COS Indiana Live Voices. That's where we focus on, once again, on Indiana Convention of States patriots that we feel are outstanding activists for Convention of States here in Indiana, and dynamic activists is what I like to how I like to refer to them as. So, as a matter of fact, our guest tonight is a dynamic activist. So
yes, she is. Yes, she is.
We'll have to talk her into being one of our guests on Indiana Live Voices. So, of course, she loves to talk about herself, so I'm sure she'll agree to do that.
Don't get yourself in trouble here, Dale.
I can see her laughing out while she's sitting in the lobby. And okay, well, let's move on and let's get our guest on here very, very shortly. Here, once again, our theme this year has been, what activism can I take in Convention of States? Um, yes, we want to see a Convention of States happen in our country, and there are 19 states that have signed on to making that happen. Indiana was number 6 in that list of 19. We need to get to 34, and yes, we do want to make that happen. But we are also a self-governing group, Convention of States group, and self-governance is part of our core values. And we are the vision and of Convention of States is to create an army of self-governing activists. So that's our overall objective. So our focus here in Indiana is, what activism can I take here in Indiana for COS? Well, our guest this evening is going to be talking to us about something, Ken, I haven't thought about in quite some time, and I'm glad she's decided to talk about this tonight. And of course, we're talking about Debbie Stewart, and she will be talking about Agenda 2030, the Great Reset. And this is going to be very, very interesting, Ken.
Yeah, it's we as we talked a little bit about this with Debbie, we've all come to realize this is a very big topic, and so I think as Debbie will allude to, this is going to be kind of an introduction to all of this. But I think we're going to be talking about this quite a bit in the future.
This, like we talked about, this could be a roundtable topic for us sometime. So, okay. Then we got after Debbie comes on tonight, we'll do a contributor segment, John's Journal, on socialism. So I thought that was kind of an appropriate contributor segment to include. So then after that, then Ken, you're going to take over and tell us about Raise Your Voice and what that's going to all involve.
Yeah, we've got kind of an easy one tonight. It's going to be a little bit more opinions from our viewers rather than questions, and no quiz tonight. But we're going to go ahead and bring up the QR code so that people can get their phones ready to participate, because we're going to be looking forward to people basically giving us some information tonight. So it's going to be a fairly easy one. Nothing really, no stumpers. So I'm not looking to stump Dale tonight. If he stumbles tonight, then we're really in trouble. But that's the QR code.
Okay.
That's the QR code. You can get that with your phone, or if you're on your tablet or computer, as we've always said, slido.com, and insert the number 5058-4058-798. That's 4058-798, and that'll put you into the right polling segment. So, and the QR code and that sign in will remain on the left-hand column once we get started, or once we get ready to start. So if you're not quite ready, can't find your phone, or if you're on your phone, give it when we get it started, you'll be able to find that there.
All right. Now you remember, Ken, I mentioned to you this past week that my thing with QR codes and how I'm just discovering them everywhere.
Widely used, yeah.
And I was watching one of my favorite shows the other night, Moonshiners.
Okay.
And even the Moonshiners are using QR codes.
Yeah, the QR code to get the favorite moonshine flavor, or just be able to sign in. Yeah,
I think it's. I don't think it's to that extent, but
I've actually stopped using cardboard business cards. I have a QR code that I can use, and people can just hold their phone up next to my phone and get my business card. So it works out really easy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, makes it really good. So
you're gonna have to show me how to do that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get going here. Like I said, we're talking about Convention of States and activism. And tonight we're going to bring on our special guest and bring on Debbie Stewart. Debbie normally brings us a constitutional literacy segment or a civics segment. I guess what we'll have to ask her if this falls into to one of those categories. I mean, it's certainly appropriate. So let's bring Debbie on and apologize to her for everything we said and move on here. Okay. Hello, Debbie.
Hi. Well, I don't know why you would have to apologize for saying nice things about me.
Debbie, you know you're one of our favorites. So if you've got Dale saying funny things about you, that means you're on the favorite list.
Okay.
So Debbie, does this Agenda 2030 and does this kind of fall into civics or constitutional literacy or both or what category would you put it in?
Yeah, so I would really say both. I was thinking about the other day because originally I said, okay, as our civics lesson, we'll talk about what's going on globally. And then I was like, well, wait, everything they're wanting to do in this Agenda 2030 is going to have to do with our Constitution. And so it's very interesting because we studied a while back that when you sign an international treaty, that treaty then trumps or supersedes what's in our Constitution. And so by signing treaties, we can actually end up implementing things in our country that go against our Constitution and will not improve the life of the American people, depending on who that person is. So I would say it's both constitutional literacy and civics.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. It's Debbie sent Ken and I some links to this so that we could do a little research prior to tonight's broadcast. And it's been like I said, it's been a while since I've thought about this or did any reading about it, and it's scary. It's scary because we're seeing some of this stuff. We are actually seeing some of this stuff. Debbie, you go ahead and get started here. I don't want to hold you up. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. You guys just, jump in at any time because I really feel like now that you've had a little taste of what that is, I think it's just so much more effective when we're all kind of talking about that. But well, as far as my introduction goes, I really want to talk about why this was important to me because I've been starting to do some research on what's actually happening in Davos, Switzerland with the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and all these organizations that we supposedly deem as helpful. But it seems to be that the intention is to go much more towards a global world control and governance. And of course, those people who read the Bible know that's nothing new because the book of Revelation is all about that. So we know it's coming. If you believe the Bible, we know it's on its way. But a lot of what's being said, and some people may say, well, that's just conspiracy theory, which is kind of about a year ago what I thought. But you can go right on the internet and read the entire document of when they met. As far back as 1992, when George Bush Sr. went to Rio de Janeiro, and they had their first summit there, and they called it Agenda 21. So the whole reason for tonight, I really felt like this was important, is there are a lot of people that do not know what's going on globally. And we have all this stuff going on in our own world here in our cities, and then in our state of Indiana, and even in our country. We just had elections, and we still got some runoffs. But all of that is not going to even compare to what is trying to be pushed by the United Nations and the World Economic Forum for our country. And so my whole goal was just to get the awareness out there of what's going on so people know that this is happening while we're so busy in our lives. There are people behind the scene that they are trying to completely change the way we live life here in the United States of America.
Yeah.
So with that, let's start with 1992. The United Nations held a conference in Rio de Janeiro, and it was called Agenda 21. And that was all about getting the country to go around three main things. I'm looking for my thing here because I wrote down is really it was about, how we wanted to handle the economy, ecology, and equity, more or less social equity. And that was interesting because that's when George Bush Sr. came back and said that his quote was, "The United States fully intends to be the world's preeminent leader in protecting the global environment." And so that's when he brought up the term one world government. I think you could probably search on the internet and find where he makes this statement. And um, uh, so that was kind of where people started hearing that once George Bush Sr. said that. So that was back in 1992. And then you can fast forward to 2015. They had a conference called Agenda 2030. And so this is Barack Obama spoke at this. The United States was there. It was a total of 100 and some nations. I have that somewhere. But it was the old Agenda 21. They were just kind of buffing it up some. And that Agenda 21 that happened in 1992 was agreed on by 179 nations, including the United States. It was all about sustainable development, and it was held in Brazil. So then Agenda 2030 comes along, and it's still a lot of world leaders, and they're honing in on this whole sustainable development. And they're really hitting things like there were 196 countries agreed. It was they were all there at this World Summit to approve this new agenda for 2030, which really wasn't a new agenda. It was from the Agenda 21, but they knew they weren't going to make it by 2021. So they then called it Agenda 2030. We are now halfway there. That was back in 2015. It's 2022 now. We've got 7 years, almost 7 years, a little over 7 years left to get to 2030. And they approved the new agenda. And then 2 months later, they had something called the Paris Agreement that was signed and ratified by 187 parties, including the United States. And that was signed on April 22nd of 2016.
And Debbie, you say the Paris Agreement, the PARIS,
Yeah,
Paris Agreement?
Yep. That's what it was called. It was just a couple months after Agenda 2030. And that was basically the whole plan for climate change, sustainable development. And that's where this big, thick 35-page document comes with, we talked about your 17 sustainable goals and 169 targets. And I figured out those 169 targets, I think, are the sub-goals of all of the 17 goals.
Now, didn't Trump pull us out of that agreement?
He did. So Trump pulled us out in June of 2017. So about 5.5, 6 months after he took office, he pulled us out of that Paris Agreement because basically what it's doing is it's bringing the United States down to be more equitable with all third world countries, which is, if you want to make an equitable world or globe, you can't just advance everybody. You have to bring the world leaders down so that you can then pull the down to closer where the other world nations are that don't have as much. And so he saw how it would take away our sovereignty. I mean, we are basically bowing our sovereignty down to these world policies and the international court, international trade, all of these things. He pulled us out, but then the day Joe Biden got in office, he put us back in there. Yeah. So
Debbie,
yeah.
Debbie, I have a question that kind of why was it called the Paris Agreement? Was this something that was initiated by France, or how did it get its name Paris? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was under the impression that it was in Paris, France, but I think that the United Nations is picking different countries because I feel like in order to be inclusive, we got to go here and do this conference. And then we have this one in Thailand. And then we have this one in Davos, Switzerland. That's where Schwab lives. And he has it at his estate there. And then we have this one in Quito. Like there's one coming up that's going to be in Quito, Ecuador. And so I feel like they're doing all these different conferences and they're all feeding into this Agenda 2030. And then these 180, 90 nations are going back to their countries and they're trying to implement this agenda. So many of the world events we see going on right now, including what's going on in our nation now, because the Biden Harris administration is trying to reprioritize this whole Agenda 2030 and make these sustainable development goals happen.
Well, I find that interesting because I don't know whether you saw it or not, but just last night on 60 Minutes, I happened to catch the interview of, obviously, the 60 Minutes did with France's president, and he mentioned in part of that interview, he was saying that this whole agenda that Biden has done here in the United States is hurting the European continent.
Nice.
So he's, I mean, he delicately said that, but at the same time said that they would be working together to make more green, things happen. But I just found it interesting when you called it the Paris. I was just curious whether there was a connection. But yeah, when I saw him last night on 60 Minutes,
Yeah.
And he mentioned specifically, he said, what we're doing here is hurting the European economic. Of course, I was yelling at the television, yeah, it's hurting ours too. But
right. Well, it's interesting because that meeting was back in 2016. Well, now that it's been implemented, people are starting to see, wait, this isn't doing my nation a lot of good. But I think there's so much intense world pressure right now to do this, or you're out. I really feel like if you push against this, if you don't have the clout behind you, you're not going to be there very long, because this is, I mean, and these people, when I go through just a few points in this thing, they're basically saying, we're the governing board. This was a quote from Klaus Schwab. Let me find it here. Oh, he says, God is dead, and the World Economic Forum, by the way, he's the CEO and founder of the World Economic Forum, have acquired divine powers to rule over humanity. Jesus is fake news. He says a one world religion has arrived, and it unites all of humanity in worshiping at the altar of climate science, techno-communism, and eugenics. So
Wow.
this whole, he says, my role is to shape the transformation of the world in the current period. He also just got done talking about how he admires the Chinese system of state control authoritarianism. So this guy is running the World Economic Forum. He feels like he's in charge now, and it's his job to make the planet the way it should be and to save humanity. And I'm like, save us from what? What do we, I can't, I guess the climate change is so bad that, I'm not really sure. I mean, I just wrote that in my notes. Save us from what? What are you saving humanity from or to? Right.
And we all thought George Soros was a bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And, these guys are all Soros, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab. A lot of these guys are all kind of these world leaders that are running the show. And I'm sure they, coordinate.
But I'll stop right there just to bring in. We have a plethora of comments tonight that suddenly popped up. So I want to bring a few of these up. I don't want to get you too far off course, Debbie, but
no, this is part of it.
Here are a couple of these, but we'll kind of move through them as fast as we can here. But we've got one here from Chad Sanders who says, why was he there? And he's not a world leader. So how do these guys become, or how are they being recognized as world leaders, I guess,
When he says, why was he there? Who's he talking about?
I think he's talking about, I think he might be talking about
Schwab, probably the,
yeah.
How do you pronounce his name? The guy that
Schwab.
Yeah, leads the world order.
That's the World Economic Forum. I'm not sure how he started this thing, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm really just diving into this more and more. But he's the one that's brought all these world leaders together. And he's the one that came up during COVID, the Great Reset. See, that's where he came on the stage. He was saying, hey, we need a way. This is a small window of opportunity we have here. And we need to go ahead and do a reset now with COVID, dealing with all the things of COVID. So in answer to his question, I am not really sure who all of a sudden made him somebody who needs to start.
Is he part of the United Nations? Is he part of you?
He's been involved with Agenda toward 2030 and the United Nations. So some of these leaders that go to these big committees or these big economic forums or whatever they are, conferences, some of them are world leaders. Some of them are heads of state. Some of them are just important people like Bill Gates. What is he? He's a techno guy, right? But he gets invited to all these things because he has so much power
and your money.
Yeah, money, power, and he's bought into the agenda. I mean, he's developed some of it.
So you mentioned the Schwab. He's German ancestry, but lives in Switzerland, correct?
Yeah, he was born in Nazi Germany, but he's lived in Switzerland for most of his life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. That was a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. What else you got there? What other questions?
Well, let's say I'll back up a little bit. We've got some things, just some comments. I'll put them up real quick because if there's something you want to address, this one kind of interesting. I don't know whether it's on the same topic. I did look it up a little bit when it first came up, but one of the first questions that popped in was, why does China have police stations in our country? And I did a little research to find out that there obviously there's Mexican police forces and there are Chinese police forces here. And the reason given, again, I don't know who decides this, but the reason given is because they need to have people here to protect their own immigrant type people who are living in this country. So I guess Chinese students and others that are here, they have to have a police station available for them. That was kind of the excuse given, but I'm not sure if you have any other insight on it.
Well, I do know that I mean, this is just my personal thing. If you really study what China's doing right now, they've come right out and said, we want to take over the world. They're in the last year or two, they've come right out and said it. But, when Biden got into, Trump had a surveillance of Chinese people going on here and Chinese people that were spies, right? Well, Biden-Harris administration came up and they wiped all that. They said, nope, you're no longer allowed to pay attention to what these Chinese spies are doing. Which if you think about it, unless you're giving your country over to China, why would you do that? So do we have American police in China? I get the feeling that, we don't have quite the freedoms over there.
I'm sure we don't. I'm sure.
I doubt it. Yeah, the whole
I'd
thing
be interested.
Sounds a little treasonous to me, but yeah.
I'd be interested to know what authority does a Chinese police officer have here in our country? What authority would a Mexican police officer have in our country?
It might be another whole roundtable.
That could be.
We're opening a lot of them here. So
yeah.
But we've had some other comments. I'll just put up a couple real quickly. It seems we need a convention of nations, says my mystic traveler says.
Yeah.
We need a group of people to lead our nation who actually want to fight for our nation and the people of our nation, not siding with other nations and giving things away and allowing our country to go to hell in a handbasket. And so until we are able to get those people actually in leadership positions, nothing's going to change. And so we have to protect our own sovereignty, because once we buy into that, and if we continue to have problems with elections, when will we ever get new people in there that want to do the right thing for the right reason, not for money? And, the way I feel is if you're a politician and you want a platform or you want wealth or power, you don't need to be running for office, because you're supposed to be a servant of the people. Now, I know that's old school, but that's really what our Constitution was founded on.
Right. That's right. All right.
Any other questions, Ken?
Well, let's see. We have a couple of comments. This one here is another one, I guess, kind of fits in. I know we talked a little bit about this with food and global control of food. So one of the things that I've also heard so much about is all this farmland, and not only in Indiana, but across our country, that is being bought up by the Chinese and Bill Gates too.
Yeah, I've got some stats where I pulled right up here now. 18 billion, the average annual Chinese real estate purchase in the United States annually, $18 billion worth of land and land acquirement. The value of homes in America purchased annually by Chinese nationals, mainly Florida, California, 6.1 billion, 60% of those are done with cash only. And right now, 200,000 acres of farmland is owned by China right now.
Wow.
That's almost 5 times the size of Washington, D.C. And we're letting them do it. Can we buy land in China? I mean, can we buy land that's right around a military base too? I mean, that was the main thing that I think it was Kristi Noem was talking about, not letting the Chinese people buy up any land. Why are we letting them buy our land? They are our greatest enemy, and we owe them so much money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't get that. Unless you're trying to give over your nation to another nation, why would you do that? Same reason why you would close down your pipeline. So you can't have gas on your own and go somewhere else. To me, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that decision, policy decision, is not an good American decision.
Well, if you can't see the movement by China not only wanting to take over land for food sources and everything else, I mean, as far as Afghanistan and Taiwan and all these places where all the minerals are for our batteries and all our chips and all the other stuff, they're really going to corner the market on just about every tech and every food source that we have. So who controls who at the end of when it's all said and done?
They've already got control of us. They're just doing it in a way. They're not coming over with tanks and jets. But right now our power grid, we get almost all of our panels from our power grid from China. So if we ever had an EMP here and our power grid goes down, what are we going to go to China? They just took our power grid down. We're going to say, can you give us some more? Well, they were the ones that took it down. So, there's all this stuff going on. But the people in Congress, most of them act like that it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So great question about China, because they are on the move and they are doing things. What do you call that? Underground warfare, where you're doing things, but people don't recognize, the taking over of universities by certain ideologies. The implementation of Marxism and communism, all of that.
Well, it's a different war altogether. We're at war. It's just a different type of war.
Right. Well, I was going to say something about. Is there any more questions that you wanted to address, Ken?
I'm not seeing any real questions. Again, a few more comments. Let's see if there's anything here. Let's see. I know a couple people said they're having connection problems. I'm hoping that's not across the board. That was just one person, but hopefully not. We've had a couple. Here's one comment, basically, just to say that keep digging and going down the rabbit hole. They really like the info you're giving, Debbie. So I think we're really covering a topic which I think, as we've all talked about, I think is going to become a hot topic.
Yeah, and thank you for that comment. I'm going to, and I love your name, Humble Bumblebee. I love that. That's awesome. So this whole thing is, and I'll keep it in. Dale, if you decide you want to have me on again, we'll dig down into this, because we haven't.
I think we are we're definitely going to have you on again. I'm not sure if it'll be in this venue or maybe
one more comment here, Debbie. One more comment, because I'm not sure whether you did any research on this too, but one of our viewers, Richard Loken, says that China owns 2 of our 4 major meat processing plants in the U.S.
That's right. I've heard about that. Yes, I remember seeing that.
And how did that happen? Because China owns a lot of our major corporations too. That big, huge corporations. They own a lot of them. I read an article one time. It was I think it was 50 large corporations, like things like Amazon size, were owned by a Chinese company. Now, on the face, you don't know that, but if you do some digging behind the scenes. So great comment. Yeah. How do you want me to keep going, Dale, or do you want to wrap up just this introduction here?
I think we're going to have to wrap it up here. We've gone over our time limit, normal time period. So you want to wrap it up for us this evening then?
Absolutely. So the first point I would say is I would go, for anybody who's listening tonight, go out and just Google Agenda 2030, and you can actually find the actual document out there. And Dale, I sent you the link. So the United Nations General Assembly, and you can find it and read the whole thing. It's 35 pages long. It has all those goals in there. The other thing I would say is some of the things in here sound kind of good on the surface, like, equity, we want women to be equal. But if you keep reading, this equity requires a one world government that controls everything. Mm-hmm. They're talking about food security, controlling your nutrition, your education, your social powers, the economy, your finances, your health. Some of the words, international cooperation comes up a lot, developing countries, the collective, right? Climate, sustainable development, the word global and international over and over and over and over, and that you have to be accountable to the international people, which is we, meaning the Agenda 2030 people.
Right.
So it's really based on a complete control. And I just really hope people will dig in and see what's going on and start talking more to your friends and your neighbors and talking to some of your representatives about this, because they've got to know this is going on,
Yeah.
the people in politics.
Well, I could see this social credit score the Chinese have coming right out of our present administration's next meeting. I could almost hear it. This whole social credit score thing that China has been so wrong in doing over their country, and hopefully some of these uprisings that we're seeing over in China and some of the other places, hopefully it really takes a foothold, because I think we could use some help.
Well, I think we're going to be shocked when we find out how much the Chinese know, because I'm just taking one thing like Zoom, like all the schools and all the businesses use Zoom. Well, China owns Zoom.
Yeah. And
So
TikTok.
like they're in our home. Could they be listening to all our conversations? I don't know how that works, but if they own it and we're using it, does that give them the rights? I don't know. But I think that unfortunately, if we don't do something, what's going to happen is it's going to be too late when it's finally revealed at a level where we really understand it. It's going to be too late to really do anything about it. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Debbie, thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for pitching in and talking about this with me, guys.
You've lit up the board, Debbie. You've lit up the board.
Well,
those that are viewing tonight, please email us if you want to see Debbie come back and present some more on this. Let us know. Would you like this to be a roundtable topic for us to talk about with Debbie, or should we just bring her back for another session like we did tonight? Let us know what you think. So I would be very anxious to hear from you. And once again,
put that Gmail address up again. There you go, Jay.
Yep, there you go. Raise your voice COS at gmail.com. Raise your voice COS at gmail.com. Or you can let us know anytime during this broadcast tonight with an additional comment if you would like. But otherwise, send us an email too. All right, Debbie, thank you very much.
all right, guys. Thanks.
Good to see you, Debbie.
I don't know if you got us in trouble or not, but we'll see. Okay.
Probably, but hey, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Good job, Debbie. Good job.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Very interesting, Ken. Very interesting.
Yep.
Well, we've kind of.
I'll answer that one already. There, we got a comment already. There, Chad says, do a couple hour round table with us.
Couple hour. That's an idea. Yeah, I think Debbie hit a home run tonight.
Well,
all right,
interesting for sure. Yep.
I tell you what. Why don't we skip the contributor segment and let's go on, because our times that we're running kind of short on time.
Tight, aren't we? Yep.
You want to go ahead and do your raise your voice segment?
We can do that. Let's go ahead and bring up Marengo to introduce that
segment that features you. Scan the code and join the fun. It's your turn to be heard.
Well, as Marengo said, it is that time, and this is going to be a rather maybe a continuation of tonight's participation effect. We're going to go ahead and share that screen once again with you so that you can see the QR code and get the Slido.com. Again, that's number 4058-798. And we're going to jump right in tonight. So you want to grab that code. It'll be on the left-hand side if you're still looking to get yourself in. But we are going to go ahead and bring up our first question of the night. And this is a text option. So basically, you can just put in whatever you feel here. And we're just looking for one example you would use to tell a neighbor why you signed into Convention of States. So either why you signed in, or why you're interested in Convention of States, or why you think Convention of States is the answer to many of our federal problems that we have in our government. So the question again is, what one example would you use to tell a neighbor why you signed into Convention of States? So we're looking for some basically answers as to maybe it's a hot topic or an opinion or something that caught your eye early on, got you interested in Convention of States, and what example you would use to tell a neighbor, because we are certainly looking to spread the news. We're looking to get our neighbors off the couch, get people involved. And so we have to be thinking in advance, what is an important example that you would use that would catch your neighbor's attention? Got a couple people typing, so we're going to let it roll here while people are getting their texts in.
Well, I'll tell you, Ken, I think one of the topics that for me personally was our national debt and controlling our national debt and doing something.
I think the national debt is certainly important. And I mean, it's causing our inflation and everything else right now. It's just, spending money like water. And we have one anonymous here that's put in mandates for unelected officials. So that's always a hot topic. I did read somewhere where I think that one of the things that is on the agenda for January with our new House control is to pull those mandates from our military. So hopefully that will be I'm sure hoping some of these things get acted right away, Dale, because I know Biden didn't take any time at all to sit down and take his pen and do his damage. So
I agree.
We have one more person typing. Let's give it another second and then we'll move on. I know we're running a little tight.
Yeah.
But one more person, and he probably got a long example that he wants to use, or he or she. But let's give it another second. If not, this is always available, and you can always find this at the same Slido.com. You can see results and also continue to add to it. I think for a total of 2 days, so right on up through Wednesday.
Ken, I'm surprised that you haven't shown a comment from Sue Lyon tonight. Is she not viewing tonight?
I have not seen Sue on tonight. Here we go. Here's our other one, anonymous. Okay. Federal government overreach with unelected officials running agencies. So that fits right in with obviously all of our health and other problems that we've had. So appreciate your comments on that. And really to answer your question, Dale, I didn't see Susan on. So
all right.
Here's our second part. How many states do you think will become part of the COS movement next year? So we're at 19. I know we've had a couple of sessions, a couple of Monday Night Lives where we talked about how many states we might have that are on the cusp. But we want to try and get an idea how many people have been listening, and maybe ideas of some people that don't have any idea of how many states might be close to us. There's a nice one, more than 3. We'd love to see more than 3. Yeah, nobody on none and 1 or 2. So I think most people were in tune with that, Dale. I think we were talking about 3 states having a very good chance. Is that what you?
I would have voted more than 3. I would have voted more than 3.
That's good to know too.
But I think,
that's at 50-50. So
those are good. Yeah.
Just curious what people were thinking for next year. And our last one is going to be a word deal. So this is it kind of fits in with tonight's topic. In one word, express your feelings on China. This is just one of those word things. Just put in one word on your feelings on China. I know some people would like to use more than one word, but I'm just curious what the underlying feeling is on China with people tonight. So got a couple people typing. We'll see what goes here. Ooh, enemy. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how many people might feel China, a feeling towards China at this point. I know worrisome. There's one, I think. So I think people in general, I think most people understand that they are certainly not just competitors as the left so many times likes to describe them as, just competitors. But so that's kind of it for the night, Dale. I think we've exhausted that for the night.
Okay.
Go back up here and stop that from showing, and we'll go ahead and get back here to.
Good.
So I don't know, 7:54. Do you have time to run John's journal, or
I think we do. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right.
Yeah. We'll see how we finished up.
Okay. Let's. This is John's journal. John Ackerman does this, and he's talking about socialism tonight. So let's take a listen here.
John Ackerman for Convention of States, Indiana. I'm going to try something a little different this time. going to try to show you a pretty cool cartoon. Hope it comes through. The fork says socialism, and the guy is trying to stick it into an outlet that's called the economy. And he said, the one guy says, everyone else who tested this got hurt. And then this guy says, everyone else did it the wrong way. And it's kind of like, if I do it, I'll do it the right way, and socialism will work. I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny. You know what happens when you stick a metal fork or a metal probe of any kind into an electrical outlet. You're going to get knocked on your keister. If you're lucky, that's all that's going to happen to you. If you're unlucky, you may be connected to 120 volts for a little while, and that stuff hurts. I've been shocked by 120, and I go out of my way to avoid that stuff now, just like I go out of my way to avoid socialism. Socialism has never helped the people. It has only helped the corrupt elite few at the top of the heap who are in control. There's a dangerous move in our society these days toward socialism. Now, the word sounds good. Who doesn't want to be social? Who doesn't want to be sociable? The opposite of that is anti-social, and we don't want that. But that's not what socialism means. Socialism grows out of Marxism. It's slavery. It's rule by the wealthy and the elite and the powerful. We fought a revolution against the King of England to get away from that kind of thing. Let's not go back.
You're muted, Dale.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Was the audio and the visual a little out of sync?
Just a little bit, yeah, but that happens sometimes with the internet for sure.
I don't know what causes that. I guess it's
Yeah, it's bandwidth usually, just bandwidth. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So.
I thought that was another good one from John, and kind of appropriate for tonight's topic. So, well, let's kind of wrap things up here, Ken. Our next COS Indiana Live will be 1 week from tonight, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, December 12th. And we're going to have another one of our new district captains on, Ben Plinkert. And Ben is, like I said, has finished his training and has become a new district captain. I think he's the district captain in House District 18. I'm not sure, quite honestly.
Taking a guess at that, are you?
The realignment that Indiana has done has moved people around. I am now, as a matter of fact, in a different House district than I have been previously. So we'll find out from Ben just what district he is district captain of when we have him on. It started out District 22, but now I see that he's actually now in District 18. But we'll see. But that's going to be our guest next Monday, December 12th. So just so everyone knows, and you'll be definitely want to tune in and meet Ben. Now, we've talked about this, but our roundtable coming up on December 26th would be the fourth Monday in December, and we're going to do a best of that night. Probably going to rebroadcast the November roundtable, which had to do with election day victories for Convention of States, and then we'll be looking for the next live roundtable to be in 2023 on January 23rd, which will be the fourth Monday in January. So let me just one more time let everyone know the Raise Your Voice, our email address, raiseyourvoice COS@gmail.com. That's raise your voice COS@gmail.com. And I just also want to mention again the podcast that we have available on the Roundtable podcast and COS Indiana Live Voices. And they can both be found on Spotify.com. So, Ken, I think we've had a good time tonight, a good broadcast. We always like to kind of end it on our favorite acronym, GOTC, get off the couch.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, the discussion on Agenda 2030, if that doesn't spur you to get off the couch,
Nothing's going to.
I don't know what will. I know Debbie's still in the lobby down there, and she's giving us the thumbs up. I'm going to bring her on real quick here. I see that. I saw that, Debbie. You hit a home run tonight, kid. I think.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this stuff it's not good, and we don't want to wake up one day and just go, "Gosh, I didn't know that was going on, and could I have done anything?" I'm just reading more stuff here on the Great Reset. There, so one of the goals is no by 2030 nobody owns land. What?
Holy
Did
smokes.
anybody hear that?
Yeah.
And if you own your home, they'll just tax you to death so that your taxes are so high you can't handle it anymore. I mean, this is crazy stuff. You wonder why Trump pulled us out of this stuff, because he knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
Important stuff. Yeah.
All right. Okay, you got us stirred up again, Debbie. So
And I just wanted to add, it's good to see your We the People background back in there, Dale. I'm glad you got that back going.
thank you.
Yeah.
I was able to finally
Get that fixed.
get that fixed. So,
I had something in here that I thought was super funny, you guys, that I just have to read this to you in this. It's the World Economic Forum. This Agenda 2030 is talking about, they're calling it We the People. And it's so funny because I wrote in here, wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. Oh, where did it go? But it's hilarious. It's like, it's for the people, by the people, for the people, and kind of like we the people, by the people, for the people. And I laughed. I said, no, it's by the elite, for the elite, and then given to the common people. It's like, come on, you're not stupid.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Unreal.
Okay. So see, we let Debbie kind of stir things up again, and now we're going to let her go again.
She's already introducing part 2.
Yeah.
Right. Stay tuned.
All right. See you, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, that's it for tonight. So on behalf of Ken and myself, thank you all for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you again next Monday evening, the 12th, when we have one of our new district captains on. And so we'll see you at that time. Ken, have a good evening.
You too.
We'll see you.